Good afternoon, Michael Malice here. Let that be your welcome for the next hour. Uh, this is going to be an off the rails episode. I have been working for months to get our guest on, and I'm so excited he finally accepted our invitation. Walter Kirn is here. He is the editor at large at County Highway. He co-hosts America This Week, with Matt Taibbi. It's a great podcast. Author of many books. Walter, you can follow him at Walter Kirn on Twitter. I love your Twitter feed because you and another person in this vein is Tom Beaulieu. You see the world very differently than me, but you are such an unorthodox thinker that when you say things, I stop and I'm like, okay, maybe this guy's seeing something I don't. Right. And we can go so many ways with this. I want to talk to you especially about AI because I think you and I were sharing very enormous concerns about where this is going. But I also, I was talking to our common friend Tracy. I wanted to hear your thoughts on the whole Luigi Mangione thing, because I think you really had a take on it, which just knocked my socks off.
Well, it's very simple. It's a mini-series, and it was constructed as one from the very first shot. In other words, not the shot of that came from his ghost gun into that poor man who was killed, if indeed Luigi fired that gun, because let's remember, we only saw a hooded figure. And when you only see a hooded figure, you've got a mystery. And when you only see a hooded figure who's being shot from their point of view on a surveillance camera, and a victim who's off in the distance, faceless, and thus not warranting sympathy. In other words, when you've got a first-person shooter grabbing the audience's attention, where the first mystery is, why is he having such trouble racking his gun? Is he a professional or is he an amateur? Then you've got first minute of a pilot. And I waited to say that to the world until I was sure I was watching a pilot, but I knew I was when the hood came slightly off while he was chatting with a young woman who was apparently smitten with him in a hostel. And then we saw a little bit of the face and we compared the eyebrows. Then on social media, we got the root of his New York City rental electric bike, and everyone could follow along on Instagram, and TikTok. As the thing rolled out, I said, in the same way that Christians look at a sunset and they say, anything that beautiful must have a creator, I look at something that is so absolutely like I would make it in a novel or a TV series or the first 10 minutes of film script and go, this thing has an author. I don't know who it is. Yeah. I don't know if it's Luigi himself, but when he then dressed like Lee Harvey Oswald for his perp walk, and I'm not sure you have a rack of clothes in jail that you can choose from. And when he had a manifesto like the Unabomber, the other hooded figure who's famous for his police sketch wearing a hood, and when everything lined up to basically create this almost AI merged killer, who was also, of course, the author of his own manifesto on the bullets, which were all found, and I thought, we are watching the creation of a Robin Hood / Charles Manson / Paul McCartney Beatlemania style killer. And it's happening right after the election. It's happening just as the left is incredibly demoralized and has made some decision that it needs to go even further to the left. And when America needed a hero, it found one. And then I think the pièce de résistance was when I found out that there was a 7-month period in his life when he went to Hawaii and was out of touch with the rest of society. Anything could have happened there. Apparently he had a bit bad back and he went to recuperate or something. That's what writers do when they want a space later in the series to fill in and create further story. They put a bracket around a hole in the character's biography, which they can use at will. So, as I say, I don't know who the author is, but I know there is one. And I could also predict that the thing was optimized for social media. It had all these, choose your own adventure, solve your own mystery elements. And I gave a speech to a think tank, actually, just after it had happened. And I said, you think this is just some picturesque crime? No, it's going to eat your world. And the abs shots hadn't even come up. The rock hard abs. He wasn't even yet the dreamboat that they've made him. But the worst moment in the whole thing was when, on some cable news show, they had a reporter stationed outside a prison in Pennsylvania that he was entering for the first time. And the guy with his mic was saying, you can hear the cheers of the prisoners if you're very quiet as Luigi enters the prison. And I just went, do they have to push it this hard? I mean, this thing has already jumped 3 sharks and it's only in Act 1. And I knew that Act 2 was coming, which of course is the trial, which America had better, buy some big TVs at Christmas to watch, because there's going to be picture-in-picture analysis from 40 different commentators. It will be the OJ trial optimized for, the NVIDIA chip. So whatever we're watching, we're not watching something that is happening by itself. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it's kind of like a boy band Che Guevara.
He is totally boy. I call him a Tiger Beat revolutionary. Remember Tiger Beat magazine? Girls would take the cover and put it on the ceiling of their bedroom because girls don't touch themselves. I mean, this guy has already inspired more erotic dreams than any killer in history, and he hasn't been on trial yet.
Yeah. What's really funny is I think our culture is at least bifurcating. And when you talk,
we can only hope that it's that simple, dude.
Right. But my point being, if you talk to people who are blue-pilled in this vein, their eyes just glaze over, and it's just like they've been trained that, okay, this is just what you're saying is an absurdity.
Vaccine eyes. They
Yeah,
get
that's right.
vaccine eyes, that's true. I mean, we're having a communication problem between bubbles. They don't communicate. And I hope that it's just a bifurcation and not a hamburgerization, in which every piece of society and every group larger than 10 has been cut off from one another, making us so much easier to rule. We won't even it'll be the Tower of Babel, which was cursed in this fashion. No one who worked on it was suddenly able to understand each other. And when everybody has their own sex bot and their own, customized 3D virtual porn and so on, they'll be living in cells, basically. The whole idea of imprisonment is to put you in a bunch of cells so you can't gang up. That's the whole idea of society now, too.
I mean, you really hit the nail on the head. Right before we were recording, I tweeted out that as the algorithms increasingly tailor content to each individual, they're going to really have this kind of reality check when they go outside, and that reality check is not going to be a positive response. Like right now, people are upset that if my tweets or your tweets or whatever's on their screen isn't there to tailor to their personal preferences. Like they genuinely believe this.
Well, exactly. But here's the problem. People think they are individuals, and that's the joke. They think they can program their own reality, but they don't realize that they had to have one in the first place. And after they've been programming it for a while, what they won't realize is that the thing is telling them what to do.
That's right.
I mean, we live in a world where people are asking Grok to interpret tweets. I even saw this ridiculous statement made about AI. Why would you read a whole novel or a whole book when you can have AI read it for you and summarize it? And I was like, why go to a concert when you can have AI tell you what happened? I mean,
holy crap. I had an argument with someone on Twitter when we had both misheard the lyrics to Toto's song Africa. and I said his is better. And he asked Grok which was better. And it's like, you're asking a robot which in song lyrical interpretation is better. And Grok sided with me, but it's just like, what, you're completely outsourcing anything human. And it's happening right now. And no one else seems to be like panicking about it like I am, or you.
In 2001, I published a novel called Up in the Air, and they made a movie of it. But the movie soft pedals the existential terror that I try to channel in the book. And it's about a guy whose biggest goal is to get 10 million frequent flyer miles. And we didn't have the iPhone yet, but I invented a phone for him called the Hand Star personal assistant, very much like the iPhone would be. And at the end of the book, he has no one to boast that he
Right.
got to 10 million miles. So he calls his own voicemail on the phone and says, "We made it. We did it." And that's the future. You will
No,
be
that's the present.
well, that's the present. You will be all alone with your AI, wanting to program your own personal, boyfriend or girlfriend, and you'll ask AI, "First, I need to know who am I? Tell me who I am. You have all my data. I don't. Tell me who I am. Tell me what I should want." That's the point at which we disappear truly up our own backsides, because to form selves, you need experiences, and the experiences can't be dictated by you. They have to come from the outside. They have to come from a menu that you choose from. When you create the menu, then you are eating your own flesh and drinking your own urine.
I was on Gutfeld not that long ago, and they were kind of having this fun little segment about ChatGPT is now going to allow erotica. And
Right.
the point I made is, guys, not that long ago, John Hinckley shot President Reagan because he thought it would impress Jodie Foster, and in doing so, turning her away from men forever. But point being, what happens when your ChatGPT girlfriend leads you to think, I really hate the president, or I really hate Fauci, or I really hate Walter or Michael?
Yeah.
Out of 350 million, if not billions of people, aren't some of them going to try to impress her? I mean, this isn't
Of
some.
course they are.
Of
It will be
course,
the only relationship they have. And
right,
they will believe, because they created the girlfriend from their own unconscious minds, they believe
right.
that it represents something even deeper and more authentic than an actual girlfriend. I mean, an actual girlfriend, let's say you live in Salt Lake City, where I am now. And my joke to you before the show was, it's the future home of Wall Street once Mamdani takes office. I'm actually buying office buildings here for the future of J.P. Morgan. But the question is, can we, in this endless feedback loop with the self, maintain personhood?
Right.
And if you're in Salt Lake City and you want to date, you have to choose from the people who live in Salt Lake City.
Right.
You don't have infinite choice. You can't put it together like an identikit, those things used to make faces for police sketches.
Right.
But when you have infinite choice, where do you start? One time I was with a guy, and he had never been to New York City, and we're walking down the street wondering what we should eat. And he's looking at all the restaurants. He goes, Japanese, Thai, Indian, vegetarian Indian, Himalayan. He said, God, a guy could starve to death in this town. There are so many restaurants.
Yeah. It never starts big. One missed bill, one call you dodge. Suddenly credit card debt is the headline of your life. Doesn't fade with time, it builds. Louder, messier, harder to ignore. Here's the truth. Every storyline has a turning point. And with PDS Debt, you can flip the script. They've already helped hundreds of thousands of others cut debt out of the plot and take control of their future. Whether you're struggling with credit cards, personal loans, or medical bills, PDS Debt has custom options to help you get out of debt. They go beyond the numbers to understand your unique financial situation and craft a personalized plan designed just for you. No minimum credit score required. They're here to help you save more, pay off your debt faster, start putting money back where it belongs, in your pocket. And PDS Debt is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, boasts thousands of 5-star reviews on Google, holds a 5-star rating on Trustpilot. Why? Because PDS has helped hundreds of thousands of people get out of debt. I've been in debt when I was younger, and of course I hate it. Everyone hates it because you can't ever think about anything else. It's always there in the background. It is such a source of frustration. Don't let debt keep running the show and telling your story. You're 30 seconds away from being debt free. Get your free assessment. Find the best option for you right now at pdsdebt.com/welcome. That's pdsdebt.com/welcome. pdsdebt.com/welcome. Do yourself a favor. Check out that site. Let's get back to the show. Here's the other thing that I'm very concerned about, which is are humans going the way of the horse? Because right now, it used to be let's have a debate about the checkout scanner, right? Either you have a cashier, maybe
Right.
they add something to the relationship because you have a friendly face, or if I do self checkout, it's going to be faster. You could see the pros and cons of each one. Right
Yeah.
now, at the airport, they have a mat, and I put all my items, it scans them all at once. So automatically, we know that the automation is going to be faster than either self checkout or the cashier. That
Right.
argument's won. Grok is better telling jokes than the layman. I get in my way when I get an Uber or a Lyft. It's the machine that tells him where to drive, and me telling the machine. He's completely irrelevant, or she, who's the driver. What are
Right.
you going to do with that 50-year-old woman who drives Uber or Lyft on the weekend? You're not going to send her to the factory. I mean, is this going to be like universal basic income becoming inevitable?
Well, I tend to think I have a very cynical view of the new socialism. I think the new socialism, such as we're seeing in New York City and so on, is actually a corporate sponsored effort to get everyone used to less so that the AI can have more. Remember, it is endlessly and voraciously in need of energy, water, and all kinds of things. It would also like the planet to be colder, frankly, because cooling servers and data farms is a lot of the energy drain. So we're going to live in a very cold, automated, and subdivided society in which we're all equal. Yay!
Right.
But out our window, if they let us have windows, and why have windows when you can just project images of the place you'd like to live
In 4K.
Yeah, in 4K. I mean, dude, by the way, speaking of automation, have you gone to like a Costco where they're advertising new TVs and you look at the TV and you go like, that's so realistic, it's fake. I mean, that's the 4K is so good. I don't have that resolution in real life.
Right.
And in so many ways, you're right. The machines can do things, quote, better if the metrics are very unimaginative. If all we want from reality is high resolution, if all we want from scanning is speed, but I live in a town where in the winter in Livingston, Montana, your only interaction with another human being that day might be with the clerk at Albertsons. I may have to pay for that in the future. Can I have, I want to order a bundle of casual interactions with strangers today. I might be willing to pay almost any amount for that if I get lonely enough.
I also think there's something that's very disturbing, which is when you have young men who are low status and isolated, nothing good ever comes of this. And the fact that this is not only happening at a large rate, but that they are then being made into a punchline, it just seems this is playing with fire on an insane level.
Dude, today I was in Utah, driving through a small town at the edge of what's called the Dugway Proving Ground, which is a place where they decommission bioweapons and nerve gas. Okay. This is a town that famously in the past, it's called Tooele, Utah, had anthrax weapons drift into town or drift by and kill sheep and so on. It's probably happened more than they've disclosed.
I'm sure.
I walked down the town's main street, which was mostly thrift stores and other counseling organizations and sort of, those government fronts that are always called like Aspire or whatever,
Right.
Where you go in and when you're on your last legs and say, dude, I need $10 and, somebody to listen to me. And, the Aspire Community Center will help you. Anyway, I passed a center that was some sort of psycho counseling. And I said, and it was right next to an indoor gun range. Okay. And I went, the only thing that low status young men living poisoned lives in glyphosate soaked countrysides are good for is trained assassins.
Yeah.
I was like, one day every gun range is going to have a wall of fame. Yeah, we did that shooting. This is where the Trump assassin trained. Oh, and he went to counseling right over there.
He aspired to be a presidential
Yeah,
assassin.
he went to
Like,
Aspire Counseling. He got the idea. He came over here. We helped him out. I mean, that is the darkest joke I could ever tell, but it felt true in some way because I would, and I, Michael, I will say seriously, the plight of the low status young man is, especially in the short stories I've been writing, which have yet to be collected into a book, is my fascination. It really is because I was close to one once, and I certainly went to school with plenty of them,
yeah,
and I still know many, and I like them. I like them because they're doing their best
yeah,
with
that's
a
the thing.
really short hand. They got a poker hand that consists of 2 threes, not 2 threes, a 3 and a 4. 2
Yeah,
threes would be a pair.
yeah,
They don't even get that. And they're doing their best out there, and they're trying to put together a picture of reality and a vision of their own future and, you know, dinner, and more power to them. They fascinate me far more than the people in those glass towers or the people going by in the, you know, the extra Uber SUV version. I want to know how people are going to keep their souls and imagine lives for themselves and, you know, stay on Earth.
yeah. There's this book called The Game by Neil Strauss,
I
and
know Neil Strauss. I met him in a juice bar in Malibu once.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
We had the same editor. We were discovered by the same editor. And when you read that book, it's about the whole pickup artist community. When you read it, it's even though it's framed as guys trying to get laid, it's really about how to talk to people. It's really the techniques you use there. Anyone can use with anyone of any gender, any age. And read between the lines. These are just desperately lonely young men who want to make a connection with another human being. They don't have the tools to do so. They were never given the tools to do so. And now they're trying to get the tools to do so. They're being clowned and being denigrated for wanting to have a connection with somebody else, which is essential to every human being.
yeah,
So, and I think since that book's come out, it's gotten much, much worse because of social media and kind of parasocial relationships and things like this.
yeah.
And I'm curious to hear your thoughts on where you see this going.
Well, I mean, if the question is where does the low status young man drifting out there in society without an identity and culturally abhorred from
Right.
all sides, where does he go? What does he do? How does he maintain some sense of self esteem? I
Yeah,
guess would
yeah.
be the word. I really don't know, but
Okay.
I hope they find a way because the answers that history gives are you join a gang or you become a lonely, either destructive or self-destructive
Yeah.
person. Your choice is uh, take fentanyl in an alley or go to Aspire Counseling and get a target from, for your anger. I just read last night, I mean, speaking of this, uh, a Substack, which purported to have a lot of the chat logs and pictures, even of the apartment of this guy who shot Charlie Kirk down in St. George, Utah, and it was one of the most horrifying displays I'd ever seen. The inside of the apartment that he was living in with his lover was full of wires and net. They called them their nests. They were mad methamphetamine inspired. I don't know if that was a particular drug, but that's the one I would guess. Um, uh, Morasses of tech and empty cups and takeout containers, and it was said that one of the guys grew mold in them as his experiment, and then there were sheets of paper on which they had scribbled, absolutely nonsense runes and words and strange beings and so on. And I thought, if this is the future for these guys, then we're absolutely screwed. They're either gonna expire alone, they're gonna go out in a burst of glory, or they're gonna get wise and go, you know what, let's gang up.
Yeah, right.
We're all screwed up, nobody likes us, and we have nowhere to go but down.
Yep.
Well, unless we decide to go up together. And
Yeah.
what they might cook up, I have no idea.
Yeah, yeah. I also think in many ways, as insane as America's politics are, which they certainly are, I think
Yeah.
in many ways it's a distraction because I think these algorithms are moving much faster than politics is. DC is
Oh,
very much like
absolutely.
a swamp, like a quagmire, but these things are happening without. It's like, you got the magician, he's dangling the watch over here while he's picking your pocket. I'm
Sure.
much more concerned about Sam Altman than I am about Hakeem Jeffries or John Thune.
Well, listen, I've
No, you
spoken.
listen.
I've spoken. Yeah, you listen to me, man. You said you'd never have me on the show. I called you up and said you're going to have me, or else.
You shook your fist
Yeah,
over the
you
phone.
didn't want to hear what the or else was all about. Now I don't have to tell you because you had me on the show. But listen, okay. Let's forget what the original point was because I've forgotten the point.
I
What
was
was
saying I'm more concerned about Sam Altman than John Thune or
Oh,
Hakeem
of
Jeffries.
course. I was speaking to a U.S. senator last year, and one of the few that I consider honest, and I won't out him because of what he said. He said, "Listen, you have a podcast? You've got as much power as me." And I was like, "What? Don't tell me that." Right? You're a U.S. senator. There's only
Right.
100 of them, and each state only has 2 of them. And he was, "Oh yeah, I got here and I realized." What do I do? They set a bunch of meetings for me with lobbyists, and I guess I got to take them, or I'm supposed to take them. But if I don't, then I have no program. And if I just go in there with my bright ideas about what we should do, well, I won't get the committee appointments and so on. So
Right.
I want to tell the podcasters of America, you've got more power than I do. And that was terrifying.
Yeah.
And I want to tell the other fellow podcasters like you, the one I'm talking to right now, Sam Altman's got us all beat by 1,000x. And the idea that these folks with their autistic and rather, let's say, eccentric tastes and lifestyle. We saw Sam Bankman-Fried, but and we're told he was an outlier.
Right. Yeah. Right. Right.
um, uh, that these people are running things. I mean, they have only one idea: more, faster,
Yeah.
more, faster, and they have. I said tonight, the AI revolutions and all the energy and resources we're putting into it is a bit like starving the body to feed the head, thinking that
Mhm.
someday the head will be able to build a new body.
Right. Right.
And when we are all living, when we're all going to Aspire counseling and shooting in indoor gun ranges, and hoping to someday make a splash, they will be absolutely sucking up everything that we needed to live. Today they just made Ozempic cheaper. Well, that's because the AI needs our food. At least needs the water that we use to grow it, and so on. We are slowly at the Albertsons checkout, which will be my touchstone for this show because you mentioned it, and I've thought a lot about it. The grocery store checkout.
Yeah.
I used to think, why are you teaching me how to use the machine that's going to put you out of a job? And they were because it's my job.
Yeah.
My job is now to make myself obsolete.
Right.
And I thought, well, that I don't know that Pyrrhic victory even expresses the irony of that particular predicament. I've met people who literally at their job are asked in the last couple of weeks before they're told they're fired to make up documents to fire other people
Oh
that
wow.
they then see used against them. I mean, the movie Up in the Air was about George Clooney going around the country firing people rather than them being fired over Zoom, which the company was about to start doing. He realizes he's better take a lot of business trips to pad his frequent flyer account because very soon the job of laying people off personally will be out. It will be done all virtually. Now, I don't know if you'll even have employment in the future. You'll just have a watch that blinks on and off. Like, I'm hired. Okay, go to X location, do the job. Oh, just blinked red. I'm done.
Right.
And the production of remote control people is what I'm most concerned about. People who have so little and are so desperate and are so denuded of ambition and of hope that they will simply take orders, and the orders will come from wherever. I mean, I've wondered myself now whether a lot of the Biden administration wasn't run by AI. Um, I actually talked to a diplomat recently who was going on a high level mission to meet with the president of one of the largest economies in the world. And he showed me what Grok had told him to ask.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Is he going to follow the Grok's advice, though, is the question.
Well, he said we don't have enough human intelligence in that country
Oh
to
my
kind of
God.
to know what's going on there. So he had to ask Grok. And it's no knock on the guy who was trying to do his job.
Right. Holy crap. I don't even know where to go from that, because I mean, I feel like the other point is, H.L. Mencken said the average man does not want to be free; he simply wants to be safe. This isn't something that's being foisted on people at gunpoint. This is something people would be more than happy to mainline.
Oh, sure. And they're going to mainline it. They're going to neurolace, man.
Right.
They're going to, open the doorway in my forehead. There will someday be a permanent doorway there. It'll be like a port where you can plug in. And I'm being absolutely serious. Mark Twain said, when I'm trying to make you laugh, I'm actually being dead serious. If I told you these things not in the form of a joke, you'd kill me.
Right.
And so, in the future, I fully expect that, and we learned during COVID that in fact it is safety that will make people really move as herds, and it
Yes.
is basic fear, the fear of the pathogen in that case. But I fear that in the middle of a conversation, these people may, with their neurolace, be told, like you said, punch Michael.
Yeah.
I will tell you later why, or,
Oh, yeah.
and we are dealing with the loss of selfhood, not just for ourselves, but for others, such that we can't trust that our interactions with them are not being intervened on by whatever it is, the powers, the Borg, the other thing.
Folks, that one person you struggle to come up with a gift for? For me, it was Roseanne, by the way, and I got her something really, really cool, and I haven't given it to her yet, but we're going to record it. It's going to be fun. You can't do that, but what you can do is give someone the gift of clean drinking water. And this is a product I use because Texas, Austin at least, has water that's so high in iron, it was leaving an orange crust around my faucets. And I have all those plants, and I want those plants to be happy and healthy. I don't want them full of iron and who knows what else is in there. So I want to talk to you about Cove Pure. It's an easy setup, no installation. It looks super sleek and nice. You could put it on your counter like I have. It's not one of those big, clunky, industrial-looking water purifiers. And most importantly, Cove Pure is lab certified to remove up to 99.9% of contaminants from your water. That includes stuff like PFAs, pharmaceuticals, fluoride, lead, arsenic. It's the purest water you can get. What, to me, makes a great gift is something a person will use every day, because every day when they use it, they're going to think of you. And you give them the gift of clean water, which is like something almost biblical in its purity and goodness. So if you're looking for a gift for your loved ones, or quite frankly, I'm glad I have one, I recommend Cove Pure. And because I've partnered with them, they're giving you a special $250 holiday discount with my link at covepure.com/malice. That's covepure.com/malice for $250 off. covepure.com/malice. Hurry before the sale ends, and everyone will be thanking you this holiday season. Let's get back to the show. I had John Bryan on this show, civil rights lawyers, his hand on YouTube, and he has these videos where he breaks down police body cam videos. And to your point, there was a guy there's a warrant out because he was accused of like kicking down a door and like hurting some woman. And they find him in the lobby and he's in a wheelchair. And they're like, how long you been in the wheelchair? And he goes, 15 years. They're like, well, can you prove it? He goes, yeah. And they're like, hold on a second. And they go upstairs and they talk to their sergeant, and the sergeant won't get up from his desk because he's having his lunch. And it's like, oh, the guy's faking it. And they go down and they pull him out of the wheelchair and they cuff him. And he's like, you can't be serious. And they go, if you can document, your medical condition, you'll have a chance from the judge. And I don't think this is aberrant human psychology. I think this is overwhelmingly the norm human psychology. This is my job. I was told what to do, and I'm going to do it. And I checked with an authority, so now my hands are clean, so I can do what I was meant to.
Years ago, on another trip to Utah, on assignment for the Atlantic magazine, to go take a look at the NSA data center, which is just south of here. It's a giant set of windowless buildings built into a mountainside, basically, where I was told the next 30 years of human digital communications, this podcast, every phone call, every photo can be stored. And I looked at this building, and it was sort of like Galileo realizing that, the Earth, or the sun doesn't go around the Earth. I went, wait a second. Our entire production of words, music, and so on will, for the next 30 years, will fit inside that building that's the size of a mall. And I went, we don't realize how compact information is getting. We don't realize how well it can be stored. We don't realize that a control center that knows every single thing about us can fit on a hillside in Utah and not only know everything up to this moment, but for the next 30 years. There is no way society is going to be able to resist bowing down to that thing.
Right.
When my joke tonight was, if AI keeps hallucinating, well, we'll just have to change reality to fit.
That's right. That's right.
And what you just said was, if it's a contest between the person talking about their own life and what I'm told by authority,
Right.
Authority wins.
Yes.
And anyway, on this trip down, I got a flat tire. My tires were actually popped on purpose as I was going down to the NSA data center. Somebody put wood screws underneath them when I was parked at the hotel the night before, which was spooky. I go into a Firestone store to get my tires fixed, and I have a conversation with the clerk about what I need. And I had some unconventional needs in far as tires go, and he would not satisfy me. I was basically asking him to color outside the lines of typical Firestone store protocol. And at one point he went like this, and I looked up and I saw there were two cameras built into his, reception unit, and they were real-time surveillance cameras going back to some manager or some headquarters somewhere.
Oh, wow.
And the minute he strayed from whatever the script is that they use, he was going to get a call. And of course, he was going to default to what he believed the people on the other end of those cameras wanted him to do over my needs as the customer.
Right. Well, I mean, do you have any silver lining in all this? That we're going to have orgasms on demand? Is that the one?
Dude, who wants those? I mean, the only distinctive quality of the orgasm is that it's somewhat rare. I mean, we'll be tortured by orgasms. Stop. I want to suffer. I once started a novel, and not to go too far into it and give it away to the AI, which can write it before this podcast is over. In which poor people are hired by rich people because they want to know what suffering feels like.
Oh my God.
And they say, can you cry or something, man? Like, we're so autistic, we're so Asperger's, we're so plugged into the machine, we're human calculators, and I just want to know what it's like to grieve, and I can pour it into your experience there. So yes, we might get orgasms on demand. I guess the hope lies in this: human beings can get sick of anything. I mean,
Sure.
we can get bored with anything. And all these plans depend on us still wanting what we wanted in the past before these things happened. But you see, we're endlessly adjustable. We're like water. We'll find a way. And I hope for giant miscalculations, basically. I hope that they've made sort of straight line projections as to how to manipulate us that don't count on our ability to lie, cheat, get bored, fake our responses, and so on. If we open ourselves, completely to this thing and go, take me, make me happy, give me pleasure, then we'll probably be consumed by it. But if we treat it as like that guy who comes up to you on the street and, needs a ride, then maybe we'll survive with our natural suspicious natures. But those are being bred out of us. They keep talking about trusting the science and trusting the experts. And my big problem with the left nowadays is that everybody they told me to be about paranoid, all the things my hippie high school teachers in public school in Minnesota said I was supposed to fear, they now love. And they can't believe that anyone would. What, you don't trust the CIA? Wait, you
I
don't
mean, you must have
trust
had
federal
this.
law enforcement?
You
What?
must have had the same reaction I did when you saw Bernie Sanders talking about how we should protect the CIA and the hardworking people who work there. And I'm like, okay, we're really through the looking glass here. Like,
Did
there's
you
just
did you
nothing.
see Dick Cheney's obituary headline in the New York Times? From it said something to the effect of, and I'm not exaggerating. I'm simply rephrasing because my memory of it is poor. It basically was from neocon warrior to hero of the resistance.
Oh my God.
I went, what fucking resistance? You
Right.
mean the resistance of Donald Trump to, John Bolton and
Right.
constant war? Is that what you're talking about?
Holy crap.
Um, if I'm on the right now, it's only because the left that I believed in won't have me anymore.
Right.
And their natural sort of what I thought was skepticism has turned into, feed me more science credulity. I think I have a vein here somewhere for the government controlled shots. I'm very sorry. I'm going to go home and try to pump up my veins more so that you can fill me more easily with your hypodermic needle in the morning.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was 5 minutes ago when it's like so boycott Monsanto and bioengineering and all these big corporations are ruining our health. And then overnight, it's like unless you give your newborn a shot every 6 months in perpetuity, you want to kill old people without batting an eye.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's safe to say now that I didn't take the vaccine, but I didn't. I was a little cagey about it because I still wanted to eat at certain points. Um, I actually went to a religious authority and I said, "Am I allowed to lie about my vaccination status?" And this person said, "Absolutely."
Oh hell yeah! Right.
Hell yeah. If it's a matter of survival, ask a stupid question, get a stupid answer.
Yeah, yeah,
But in any case, when I realized that the price of living up to the ideals that I'd been taught by my long-haired hippie English teachers was an absolute embrace of stupid, imperious, arrogant authorities with a lot of power,
yeah.
I was like, I guess I got to find some other chair to sit in, some other approach, because I can't do that.
Right. What are your thoughts about what happens to the right or the Republican Party after Trump? Because I think he's the only glue holding it together, and once he's gone, things are gonna go haywire.
Yeah. Well, one wonders. Right now, there's, a lot of division, but I think this. I mean, I'm with those people who say go full populism.
Okay.
See, I'm a populist because what populism means to me is middle class values. Like
Okay.
I'm not promising you the world, but I also don't think that you are aspiring to be on some form of welfare for the rest of your life or
Sure.
UBI. I think that a middle class existence that is dignified and free and so on is actually something we can all agree is the least worst scenario.
Yeah.
And so I think Trump needs to articulate a populist message and an economic message at home, and I think he's done a better job than the left, frankly. I mean
Sure.
he I see Mamdani saying you're all going to have free childcare so you can go to work, but you're not going to have any work to do.
Right.
I mean, who are you going to work for? I guess you'll just do childcare for yourself. It'll be like the podcasting economy where we all just go on each other's podcasts. We'll all just
Well,
end up taking care of each other's children forever.
if I can paraphrase a Russian joke, it's like if you think childcare is expensive now, wait till it's free.
Dude, exactly. The other day, I made a joke to my wife. Somebody was getting in my face and telling me about this and that and everything, and I said, "You have to be very poor to be that entitled."
Yeah, right. Yeah.
In other words, and it's related to your joke because the prospect of empowerment for those who don't have much has caused them to get pretty mighty and high and mighty. In the old days, they were like, "Can I wash your car and make some money?" Now it's like, "Back down, mister. I've got the state on my side, and you're out of touch." Yeah, I'm like, "Yeah, but I've got a car and you don't." Well, that kind of rhetoric will get you shot in the future here. So Trump needs to, I think, address these very fundamental problems like, how will I ever have a house? How will I ever not have to have 6 roommates, even though I'm making $100,000 a year?
Right.
And then he can pass something on. It's at least an impersonal program, but he can't pass on his personality. He can't pass on his approach. He certainly can't pass on his sense of humor. I mean, he's the greatest insult comic of our era, and besides other things. And so without a really, I think, identifiable, bare bones, simple, populist economic message, it will go away with him.
Guys, traditional security systems react after someone's inside, and that's too late. So I want to talk about Simply Safe. Simply Safe is different. It's proactive. They have live agents to actually confront potential criminals while they're outside before they break in or commit a crime. And their fancy name for this is Active Guard Outdoor Protection. Simply Safe keeps your home, property, whatever, safe. Hence the name. And if you've ever worried about the safety of your home, you need to hear about Simply Safe's early access Black Friday sale. Their AI-powered cameras detect threats while they're outside, and they alert real security agents. That's the game changer. Those agents take action while the intruder's outside. They confront them, let them know they're being watched on camera, and that police are on their way. They can even sound a loud siren. They could trigger a spotlight if needed. Like in the movies, that's kind of cool. This is how you stop a crime before it starts. Other systems have cameras that let you talk to intruders, but they're the ones who require you to see the alert for yourself. But Simply Safe, they have monitoring agents to have your back and talk to intruders even if they aren't there. So here's the big sale. My listeners get exclusive access to Simply Safe's Black Friday sale, where you can get up to 60% off on any new system. It's their biggest deal of the year. There will never be a better time to get real security for your home. All you have to do is go to simplysafe.com/malice, SIMPLISAFE.com/malice, and save their biggest sale of the year right now. Don't you want to keep your home safe? I sure do. No long-term contracts, no hidden fees, cancel anytime, 60-day money-back guarantee. Try it and see the difference for yourself. And when I've kept your home safe, you'll be telling me you're welcome. But you don't have to. Keep it to yourself, like your stuff. Let's get back to the show. I'm curious if you watched Nancy Pelosi's retirement video, because I was predicting the Democrats are going to come back hard in the midterms and pivot, and people were like, kind of like, they can't. If you watch her video, there's no pride flags, and she's talking about St. Francis of Assisi and showing the inside of a church. And there's a lot of awful things you could say about Nancy Pelosi, but stupid is not one of them. And I'm like, they're going to start wearing their church on their sleeve. They're going to start waving the American flag, talking about families and
Dude, they just co-opted Nazism.
Who did?
The Democrats.
How so?
Well, I'm being dryly humorous, people, but this Patner in this Maine Senate candidate. Okay, his tattoo is a Nazi tattoo. Okay,
right.
Let's get that over with. Grok can tell you that. Take a stencil of it or
he doesn't deny it. I don't think he denies it.
And today he said he believes that the scandal actually strengthened him. And I predicted this on my show with Matt Taibbi. I said, oh my God, see, all some Nazi tattoos are more equal than others. And if it's the Nazi tattoo of a fake working class hero who, let's remember, going back to Luigi, a lot of what seems to be organic in our society is staged, no doubt about it. Absolutely.
Can I give you one proof that everyone listening to this will know?
Yeah.
Easy proof. How the hell did the mayor of Fort Wayne, Indiana, get it in his head that he's going to run not for governor, not for Senate, but for the presidency, something no New York City or LA mayor's ever accomplished, right? And yet get a huge amount of traction in the primaries. That's a perfect example of this could not possibly have happened organically. He wouldn't have the Rolodex for it.
It wasn't
Buttigieg,
Fort,
I'm
it
talking about.
wasn't Fort Wayne. It was the town that Notre Dame is in.
Oh, okay.
But it was essentially Fort Wayne.
Yeah.
I believe.
Let me pull it up.
In any case,
South Bend. You're right. Thank you for the
South Bend.
correction.
Yeah. In any case, okay. So when the oppo used against a candidate is actually a home movie of a relative's wedding, that means the candidate released it. Okay.
Oh, right, yeah.
So the whole reason we know that this guy has this tattoo is that he supposedly took off his shirt, got drunk at a wedding, and was partying to the song Wrecking Ball by, Miley Cyrus. And I was like, come on, this is too staged. He's going to come in like a wrecking ball to Washington. Right. And hey, he's got a tattoo, but if you ask him about it, it's the occasion for a story of, man, after I got back from freaking the Great War on Terror, I was a little fucked up. I think you can understand, man. Sometimes I drink too much. Sometimes I'd wake up at night, and yeah, I got some tattoos and I made some bad decisions, but it's just like you, right? And this was the new Tim Waltz. They decided that Tim Waltz was a little low proof. They needed some high proof, man of the people stuff. Then we find out the guy went to Hotchkiss. The school Hotchkiss is the most prestigious, the most deep state private school on the East Coast, bar none. The reason you haven't heard about it is because it's that high. You've heard about Andover. You've heard about Exeter and Hotchkiss. They are constructing these populist heroes, and I'm not saying they sat around and went, dude, you're going to need a Nazi.
Right.
And you're going to be caught dancing at a wedding because you love your people so much that you dance at their wedding and you get a little drunk just like they do. Okay. And when they ask you about the tattoo, what you're going to say is, over there in Afghanistan, man, it was pretty tough. And yeah, I was a little fucked up, whether he had the tattoo already or not, which he probably did. They went and they leveraged it and they say, hey, you don't have any like wedding videos where it's sort of like that In Style magazine feature, celebrities are just like us, it shows them like shopping at Trader Joe's and so on, throwing some frozen food for their lonely nights under the cart. That's what this guy was, Hotchkiss graduates from famous families, and he does come from one, are just like you and me. So yeah, they're going to co-opt all this stuff. They're going to construct their populist heroes, just like they constructed Luigi Mangione, another rich kid from a super rich family. And Nancy Pelosi, how can I put it? In her sudden embrace of overt Catholicism over like kneeling in the rotunda, is showing that they intend to come back and take over these cultural spaces in the name of a kind of gritty, egalitarian, rather Trump-like populism. The funny thing about Trump was he never pretended to be like you and me.
That's right.
Never pretended. He had employees who were like you and me on his construction crews. He did say that, and he was authentic in saying so. But the thing that I loved about Donald Trump was, dude, he doesn't even really want to shake your hand. He hates germs.
Right.
But he is willing to tell you that he'll fight for you. These people are pretending to be you. Mamdani gave a speech in which his acceptance speech, in which he listed the wounds of the working class. He said the burns on their hands from working in kitchens, the cuts on their arms, from whatever. Dude, sorry, he is a boy in the bubble. I mean, he was raised. It's like he was raised by Columbia University in a lab, a very luxurious one. But this ability to appropriate and chameleonize is Nazi tattoos are a good thing. If you came back from Afghanistan, you're a little fucked up.
I'm curious what you think of JD Vance, because in my view, he miffed two really big layups. One is when he went on stage and saying that he hopes, which is a perfectly correct Christian perspective, but that he hopes his wife converts. And everyone, it didn't seem to serve his purpose, both with Christians and with non-Christians. And when he got asked about those texts that leaked, instead of being like, we have no room for bigotry in the Republican Party, he's trying to tap dance, but he's saying, oh, these are just jokes. And it's like, right when Trump is getting a big share of the minority vote, these are people who were told all their lives, Republicans are racist, Republicans are racist, Republicans are racist. On the other hand, if you want to be an octopus, it's kind of like, well, if you apologize for stuff they learned, it's never going to be enough. So I'm curious what you think of him and his prospects.
Well, I like JD Vance in the sense that he comes from Ohio, as do I. His story is actually true. If you saw his mom, at the inauguration or at the Republican convention, you saw a genuine person who'd struggled in life, so much so that she couldn't raise her own child at times. I read his book back when it was first published, before he was a politician, and I reviewed it. And the lesson of the book is basically, if you grow up in Appalachia or deindustrialized quasi-Appalachia, join the Marines.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And I thought it was very honest. It wasn't a romanticization.
No, not at all.
It wasn't an attempt to like position himself as some kind of,
no.
It was like, there's a lot of drug taking, self-pitying, resentful people where I come from.
Yeah.
And they're harming themselves, and their original situation may not be their own fault, but they're not dealing with it very well.
Yep.
So get your shit together.
Yeah.
And I got my shit together. Now he's 40 years old, so I cut him a lot of breaks. I can't imagine what it's like to be a real person, 40 years old, and enter the dragon the way he has. And to be honest, I think he won Trump the presidency, because I think the vice presidential debate was more important than the presidential debate, in the sense that people were wondering, because nobody came out of the gate with more negative publicity than Vance.
Right.
He masturbates using couch cushions. He hates women. Da 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 da. I mean, and he got up against Tim Walz, and without being insulting, without being condescending, he was against an intellect who was, half what he has.
Right.
He managed to show at 40 that he was capable of walking among these people. And I think that was reassuring for people who went like, Trump can go at any time, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He
sure did better in that debate than Trump did with his debate with Officer Harris.
He absolutely did. And so I credit Vance for giving what was a movement that didn't seem to have any future after Trump some, now we go, oh, Vance or Rubio or whoever it might be, Tulsi, that might succeed Trump. But at least there's somebody that we're talking about, and that's partly that's partly his doing by showing he could handle the press, especially.
I thought his biggest thing that was very good during the campaign is he didn't come off like a smarmy douchebag. He didn't come off like someone who's an Ivy League product. He came off like someone who's calm. He was very respectful with Waltz. He wasn't an attack dog. It was very gentlemanly.
Well, I haven't told this story, but I'll tell it here first. In early October or late September, I got a call from him. I didn't really know him.
You mean a year ago or this year?
last year
Okay.
before the election.
Uh-huh.
I didn't really know him. I'd sat at dinner with him across from him once. And he said, "Do you want to come on my campaign plane?" I said, "Sure." I go to Washington. He's campaigning in a place called Williamsport, Pennsylvania, which is up in the north of the state, kind of in the mountains. And it is as forgotten a small city as you can find in America, you know. And we went up there, and his wife was on the plane, and his 4-year-old who'd never seen him campaign. And he brought me up to the front of the plane. I didn't sit back with the press, and I sat with him the whole day
Oh, wow.
with total access. No rules. I mean, I wasn't necessarily going to write a piece, but there was, as he dealt with a little this, the problems of the day on his campaign and so on. And we went out to give a speech at a Williamsport a family fun center. In other words, the speech was in this basketball court, but there was a bouncy castle addition to the place where you could like go on trampolines with your kids.
Yeah.
And he got on there with his kids, and it wasn't set up for my consumption. This wasn't some stage thing. And he bounced on the bouncy castle with his 4-year-old son and his wife. When we got back on the plane, his wife managed to do 5 hours of intense homeschooling on Alexander the Great and the history of the ancient world with her 4-year-old without looking up. Dude, I have never seen a mother who was more devoted to giving her kid a full day of education in the midst of her husband's vice presidential campaign. She wasn't faking it, dude. I didn't see any fakery in that whole day. And when he got up in front of this crowd in this town, which, it's one of those towns where one plant closes and you got like 38% unemployment, and he gave his speech, I went, this is what I want to happen.
Yeah.
This is what I want to happen. I can't design every element of it, but I'm seeing something real happen. I'm seeing somebody address people as one of them, not in a condescending, not in a fake way. When I came back from Afghanistan, I was drunk just like you. And it gave me a lot of respect from as a journalist. I had never been granted that access at that level with so few rules. And I almost couldn't report on it because they were so candid and they were so open that it felt like they weren't guarding themselves properly. And how dare I report on what people casually? I'm not a killer journalist, I'm not looking for gotchas. But so I was very impressed with him. I was very impressed with his family. I was very impressed with their commitment to one of their children. But what I was most impressed by was his handling of his young German Shepherd.
Okay.
He had a German Shepherd with him, and he had a kind of military Marine Corps bearing with that dog. We remember the dog whisperer who said you have to play alpha with a dog, or
pack leader.
Yeah, it'll end up chewing you, your wife, and your house to pieces. And he had a kind of calm, disciplined authority around that dog, and it was a very happy dog, very healthy. And he brought it down the stairs with him and out to the stage. We then flew down to Wilmington, North Carolina, where he gave another speech. And I thought, a guy who can handle a dog with authority, but with empathy, he's looking to see if it's comfortable and so on. And in the midst of this circus is somebody whose mind is in top shape
and grounded
and whose nerves are healthier than mine by far. And so the result of that whole day was to give me a big long portrait from 9 a.m. till 11 p.m. of a guy who couldn't every minute be trying to impress me.
Right, of course. That's extremely informative, because sometimes when I watch him speak, I see this kind of smarminess come out. And I know that kind of thing plays very poorly with Karen, who's the swing voter. So the more he has of that, what you're talking about, the better it would be for everyone, because people want to trust their politicians and want to be like, okay, if shit hits the fan, not only will this guy be calm, but he'll be making decisions that are in the national best interest and not, be torn apart by lobbyists or not know who he is.
Right. And the big rap in the Twitterverse or whatever about JD Vance is that he's somehow the tool of the technocratic evil Peter
Right.
Thiel. But I can't tell you how I know this, but I don't believe that to be true. He's a very self-possessed person with a sense of his own destiny who's in a very complicated situation. He didn't support Trump originally.
Right.
The choice of VP was very last minute. It happened on the morning of the
Oh, wow.
Republican convention, and I was privy to that. And he had to step up quite suddenly. The other thing that he did that I guess I can reveal here is we discussed the likely outcome of the election. And this was at least a month out. And he pretty much nailed it. He pretty much told me the truth. He predicted the election results and he explained them to me using a data analysis from his sort of life as a banker. Basically, he's kind of a data guy who was an investor, and it was so succinct, and then turned out to be so accurate. I thought, I'm used to politicians blowing smoke.
Right.
This is why we're going to win, or
Right.
we're very afraid. He pretty much gave me the results.
Wow. Folks, head over to malice.locals.com where Walter took questions from supporting listeners. Wait, so this, if I can ask, we can cut this if you want, but you said you were working on a book. When's that coming out? Can we talk about it?
Sure. Yeah. It's coming out next year, late next summer. Its title is Homesick, and it's a kind of strange story. There's a book called Travels with Charlie by John Steinbeck, which is
of course,
this low concept book where he just sets out and drives around and talks to people.
Yeah.
And that's a low concept idea, and some would say not an idea. But I decided to do that because, as I said earlier in the show, I'm very interested in the lives of people in places where, only politicians during primary season go and then ignore. And so I drive all around the country and I spend a couple of months letting everything happen accidentally, following trails, following tips, meeting people.
Wow.
And when you meet people on the road, it's different than meeting people up in the air.
Yeah.
Most people travel in America from hub to hub.
Yeah, that's right.
But long distance highway travel, except for like retirees who are in their, in their vans or their campers, is rare. And I found out some things about America I could never have found out any other way. And one of the most disturbing was that people don't know where they live anymore. And by that I mean this: I'd pull into a mini mart in a small town in, let's say, Mississippi or wherever it might be. I don't like to use Mississippi because that's usually stereotyped as a home of dumb people. It could happen anywhere. And I'd say, listen, I knew that there was a bigger town that would have more choices of hotels, maybe 40 miles away. This happened like 3 times. And I'd say, hey, can you tell me how to get to, Johnson, Texas? And they'd say, don't you have a phone? I said, well, I do, but it's only like 40 miles here. Do I turn right out of the thing? He said, I don't know. Don't you have a phone, man? And I said, I'd be like, do you ever go to Johnson? It's 40 miles away. Nah, why would I go there?
Oh my God.
And I'd be like, well, you're going north, right? Don't you have a phone? And I'd be like, you don't know where on planet Earth you fucking live, dude.
You have no idea. I can vouch for this because I've been here 4 years and I can't find Austin on a map. I honestly don't think I'd be able to do it well.
But these are small towns, and I grew up in a town of 500.
Okay.
And the one thing if you grow up in a little town is where the next bigger town is.
Of course. Yeah, that's where you go to party.
Exactly. And when you don't know that, you don't know nothing.
Holy crap. Walter, we're running out of time. What has been your favorite part of this interview?
I've heard people ask that, or tell me that you always ask that. What's your favorite part of the interview? My favorite part of the interview was when I first laid eyes on you, Michael, and I realized you were just a person, just a guy like me with a sex bot behind him. And you told me that it wasn't, that it was actually a strange piece of memorabilia. And I realized you were just a guy. You weren't a frightening groiper or a absolutely insecure comic who would not actually listen. So the first time you listened, that was my favorite part. It's true.
You are welcome.
Hey, it's James Altucher. I've been an entrepreneur, investor, best-selling writer, stand-up comic, and whatever it is I'm interested in, I get obsessed. Yes, it's led to success, but it's also led to such heartbreaking failure. I have failed more times than I can count. I wish in my life I had people to talk to. That's why I started the James Altucher Show and bring on some of the most brilliant minds in every area of life. People like Richard Branson, Sarah Blakely, Mark Cuban, Danica Patrick, Gary Kasparov. And I wanted to find out exactly how they've navigated the highs, the lows, and everything in between. No fluff, just raw stories and real advice. I've talked to 1,500 of the most amazing people on the planet. So if you want to learn from the best and skip the same old canned interviews, we're all about helping you find your next big idea, level up your thinking, and ultimately to choose yourself. So let's do this together. Subscribe now to The James Altucher Show.
This October, Fear is free on Pluto TV with horror movie collections from Paranormal Activity, The Ring,
You will die in 7 days.
Scream, and From Dusk Till Dawn.
This is my kind of place.
And don't miss the man-made nightmares in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein or the world-ending chaos in 28 Days Later.
There's something in the blood.
All the scares, all for free. Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.